Good morning and welcome to my kitchen. It's time for another delicious episode. Now it's cold outside. You want something rich, warming and comforting. I've got the perfect risotto recipe for you. But not only that, I'm going to share the most delicious Italian stew to go with your risotto. It will be delicious. Okay, so let's start with the chicken. So my inspiration was coq au vin, which is French. However, I wanted to nip over the border and go to Italy with it. And we're going to kind of Italianicize. I want to say Anglicize, but that's English. But the Italianize. There you go. We're going to Italianize coq au vin, okay? So let's just move the book out of the way because that's for the risotto, and the risotto is in the book. But first of all, we're going to make the most killer Italian stew with wine. I've got wild mushrooms here that are dried. We're going to rehydrate them in boiling water. They're going to give us a really meaty, deep flavour. And then I've got these super dry, sun-dried tomatoes, and these have come from Grape Tree, which is like a shop in the UK that sells lots of nuts and seeds and dried fruits and things. And these tomatoes are brilliant for cooking with. You wouldn't want to eat them on their own. You want to cook with them. So we're going to hydrate those in boiling water. And let's get our pan on. So full heat, 4.5 litre shallow pan. And let's get some bits going. So garlic. Of course we're using garlic. It's Italian, isn't it? So let's get a couple of cloves of garlic going. And then I'm going to use fennel. Fennel is very, very Italian in its flavour profile. When you drive around Tuscany, things like that, you will always find wild fennel growing. In fact, even in Spain and places like I was in Mallorca this summer, and there was wild fennel just growing on the roadside. You probably would have seen it in Italy, would you? You were travelling around, weren't you? So we're just going to chop our garlic up, just roughly chop it, because it's just going to melt into this dish. You don't need to worry too much. Where was your favourite part of Italy? Because you went on a bit of a tour, didn't you?
Yeah, I have to. Bologna and Parma were beautiful. But Lake Garda, 100%.
Was that your fave?
Yeah, 100%. It is just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I haven't been. I'd like to go to Lake Garda.
Oh, incredible.
Right, here comes Pip because you can hear the chopping. Can't you? You come and say hello? Come and say hello? What's this? Hello? Oh, there you go. It's over there. See if she likes fennel. Right, so fennel bulb. We're going to chop it. I'm using it instead of onions, but I'm going to add shallots as well to it. But the flavour dynamics of chicken, fennel, red wine is just going to work so well. So I thought we'll get it in. So we'll cut the green stalks long ways. And then we're going to chop these up really quite fine because they don't cook as nicely. So the smaller you cook them, the more tender and soft, the quicker they'll get, okay? So nice and fine and soft. This is very much replacing your kind of garlic and onion at the beginning.
Just make some of these balls, please, so we can...
Yeah, sure. Is that all right? Better. Okay, so that is our fennel top. And then we've got the bulb. We're just going to slice like this. Knock that off. We're hot and ready to cook, which is good. So if you want this recipe, what I'll do is I'll get all the ingredients down the side here for you. It's not in the book, the chicken part of this dish, but the risotto is. So if you've already got the book, you've got the recipe. If not, you'll see it down the side and then just watch how we do it, okay? So you could also make this in the slow cooker if you wanted to. No problem at all. So let's get a little bit of oil into the pan. And then let's get our garlic and fennel in. Always a good sound, that.
And a good smell.
Yeah, love fennel. It's one of my favourite vegetables. In with some salt. In with some fennel seeds, just to reinforce that fennel flavour. And then I've got some peeled shallots here. So this is where we're going a little bit coq au vin-ish, yeah? They're going in, but I'm not chopping them because I want them to just suck up all the red wine and just become really juicy and lovely. Okay, so let's get that moving. Lovely. Right, just make some space in the pan. Push all the veggies to the side. Make sure you can see the bottom of your pan. And then here I have got some chicken thighs which I've diced and chopped up into small pieces. You could just chuck the whole thigh in if you wanted, but it'll take longer to cook. I wanted this to be sort of a bit of a midweek. I can get this done quickly. So just spread the chicken out and then just leave it. Don't touch it. Okay, let's have a look. So we've got our mushrooms here. Do you see how they've just swollen up now? And they've absorbed the moisture and now they're just kind of like, they're meaty. They're delicious. So now they're softened, I'm going to put those on my worktop. So we're going to chop them up a little bit. And what you'll find here is we've got this lovely brown stock almost. This is full of umami and mushroom flavour. Keep it, we're going to add it in later. Okay, and then the same with our tomatoes. They've swollen up now. So we're just going to lift those out so that we can chop them. They haven't sort of given out quite as much liquid, but it is still flavour in there. So we're not going to get rid of that. We're going to add that to our mushroom liquid and we'll add it shortly. Okay, so let's just take our mushrooms, grab the mushrooms, and we're just going to run our knife through. Okay, they'll be soft. You can get dried mushrooms anywhere in supermarkets now. They're really easy to get hold of. They sit in the cupboard for years. So there's no need to worry about them going off. And then your tomatoes, I'm just going to chop them, not too small, because again, I want them to swell up and absorb all the lovely wine and stock and everything as everything cooks. I think this is an Emily kind of dish, this. I think you're going to like this. Do you know why? Dairy free and it's gluten free.
Yay!
So, let's just grab all those, just sit them on the top, okay? All we're adding is just a heap of flavour. I've got some olives. Now, I bought these, I used these olives, got a few left. I'm kind of nibbling on them, but they need to go in. I need to use them up. So they're going to go in and they're going to become quite meaty again. So just spread it all out. Give it a good, even surface area. Now I've got my stock and I've got some chicken stock here as well. All I've done is, now normally you'll get a stock cube. I've added, and you would add a pint of water if you followed the instructions. I've done half a pint because I've got my mushroom and tomato water to make it up to a pint. But don't pour it all in, because can you see that, Emily?
Yeah.
You end up with the mushrooms, there's always like some sandy bits because of the sheer nature of the mushrooms. So never pour all the liquid into your food. Leave a bit at the end and then discard that. Otherwise you're going to end up with sand in your food. So that's our mushroom liquid, our tomato liquid, and our chicken stock. That now makes up a pint, okay? But it is full of flavour. Right, let's just wipe this down. Beef steak. So this is one of their Malbecs. It's a meaty, food-based wine, this one. It's another one, it's a Malbec. They do the Argentinian, and this one is French, actually. But it works really well with this, okay? So, in we go. Half a bottle, which will leave exactly 2 large glasses of red wine left for you to drink with your delicious food. All right, I've got your back. It's all in the plan. Pop that over there. Bring it right up to the boil. And then we're going to add our chicken stock with the mushroom liquid in as well. Okay. What I'm also going to add is a tablespoon of tomato puree. Now, I've got a sun-dried tomato puree here. If you haven't got sun-dried tomato puree, add a normal puree. But all I would do is add maybe like half a teaspoon of honey or a sprinkle of sugar, because tomato puree is quite acidic and quite sour. So you want to balance it with a little bit of sweetness. But this sun-dried tomato one is absolutely fine. I'm just going to add the last of that in. It's lovely. I think I picked it up in Marks and Spencer's and they call it like a bruschetta topper. It's just a sun-dried tomato puree. But it adds a little bit of richness to it. So it's not just watery. But we are going to thicken this with a little bit of corn flour later. But don't do that until the end. But I mean, look at that. You've just got chicken, olives, sun-dried tomatoes, mushrooms. All their favourite flavours are all just going to work together with the fennel, the wine. That's just going to bubble away now for about 40 minutes. You could chuck it in the oven if you wanted to for about an hour and a half if you're busy and you don't want to leave it on the hob ticking over. I'm going to put the lid on it. This will self-baste it so it won't dry out. Right, we're going to make the most delicious risotto. Okay, this is a fennel risotto. It's a beautiful risotto. It's rich, it's creamy, it's flavoured with pecorino cheese. It's absolutely delish. Right, let's get cooking. So I've got a nice shallow pan on. We're going to use fennel instead of onion as our base, okay? Because I think it's lighter, it's more fragrant. I created this recipe when I went to Milan, the home of risotto, and I think they all thought I was a bit bonkers, but then when they actually tasted it, they really liked it, and it pained them to admit it, but it's good. It might not be traditional, but it really, really works. Fennel's super good for you, so all we're going to do is just chop it up nice and fine.
I love raw fennel.
Oh, I do. I prefer it raw, if I'm brutally honest.
I
think...
like the slaw that you
Yeah, well, there's a recipe in the book. It's like a salad of shredded fennel with parma ham and tomatoes. Oh, it's really good, really, really good. I made it once for when some friends, Greg and Katie, came up, and it was just like, that's going in the book.
Yeah.
I've loved the organic kind of development of the book because it took us a year. Nobody knew what we were doing. We were able to just create these beautiful dishes, and then when we finally decided to do the book, it just kind of all came together through what we'd been working on since lockdown, really, of recipes. So, yeah, that one was created just when friends were up for the weekend. So nice and finely chopped. Literally treat it like your onion, okay? So we're going to get a little bit of olive oil into the pan. Get everything going. And then let's get this fennel in first. We don't want to put too much colour on it, okay? So don't fry it really hard. Let's add some salt straight away, and that'll draw out that moisture. And the moisture, as the moisture comes out, that'll stop it frying and going really crispy. You might see this in a few of the cookery book photographs. It's in my drawer for cooking, you see, not the photo prop drawer. Okay, so a couple of garlic cloves. And this will just give us a really good start, really. I think the key to a good risotto is a good foundation of like veggies and things like that to get all those flavours going. Fennel and garlic love to be together. So that's what's going in. Now remember, if you've got any questions or anything, just post them in the comments below and I'll answer them. And if you're watching on YouTube, put them in the comments there as well. If you aren't following us on YouTube, bomb over there, have a look, subscribe. There's where all the back catalogue of all the shows are, so you can actually watch them like on TV sort of size. Everyone's watching YouTube these days on the telly. So it's a great place to catch up on any recipes you might have missed. Right, a few fennel seeds just to reinforce the flavour. The fennel seed is stronger than the fennel bulb. So if you are wanting to make this and you can't get hold of bulb of fennel, what I would do is switch out for onion but add in some fennel seeds because these are dried. You can get these all year long, no problem. You can't always get a fennel bulb. It's not always available. And not all supermarkets stock it, but, you know, it's becoming more and more popular and normal, if you like. Right, let's talk rice. Risotto rice. And it is the arborio risotto rice. So it's like a short grain rice, much higher in starch content. So as a consequence of that, it creates a more creamy risotto without adding cream. Okay, because that's like the cardinal sin. You do not ever put cream in risotto. So what we'll do is we'll just add a handful of rice per person. So I'm going for 4 people and a little bit left. So this is a 500-gram pack. Okay? So rice is in, and now we have to cook it out. It's important with the risotto is you get the veggies in first, you get those softening down, then you add the rice, and we just cook it out for a minute or two first. And it's called cracking the rice. So by heating up the little rice grains, it cracks them a tiny bit, which lets the starch out as we cook. If you just whacked all the liquid in there, you're just going to end up with like rice in liquid. Whereas if you want a proper risotto, it needs to be creamy, and that creaminess comes from the starch. So just give it a good mix. Make sure all the grains get some heat on them before we start to add the next ingredients. Do you make a risotto much or not?
I like to make risotto.
Do you?
Yeah. I quite like a veg risotto. It's done like with good flavours.
It's all about the flavours that you add to a risotto and then the technique. So standing and stirring it, basically.
Yeah.
You've got to stand and stir it. You can't leave it. You've got to stay with it. I mean, you can do other jobs and bits and bobs, but you have got to be stirring it every sort of 10 or 15 seconds, really, just to keep it going. So now it's time to add some wine. So our good friends at Beefsteak Club, we work with these guys because they have amazing wines. We discovered their wines years ago. And it's only now that we're in a position that we can actually go, look, just let's cook with your wines. Let's tell everyone about how delicious they are. We started with the Malbec, the Argentinian, amazing. Still love that one. Then, this is your favourite, isn't it? The Sauvignon Blanc. You can get this in the supermarkets in the UK, and it's a lovely, crisp, clean white. And it's perfect for this risotto, and we'll leave just enough for you to have a glass. Okay, in it goes. In with your white wine. There we go, Emily. Look, that's about a glassful for you, isn't it, that?
Yeah.
Just a straw. If you could get a straw that long,
Yeah.
the Stanley Cup would do it, wouldn't it?
Be perfect.
I wonder if that fits a bottle of wine in. Right, now let's get the heat up. We need to boil the alcohol away. So we're not interested in the booze in this, we're interested in the flavour of this, okay? So we want to boil it up, the alcohol will evaporate away, so all we're left with is flavour. Flavour of the grapes. And that's the first bit of liquid that we're going to add. And because we've cracked the rice, now we've added the liquid, we're drawing the starch out of the rice. I feel like it's cookery school day today.
I know.
Loads of people were asking me about the cookery school when we were at the Cockermouth Food Festival.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Feels like such a long time ago. So much has happened, hasn't it, in life since then. Right, I've got a little bit of butter left from Guernsey that I think we'll add. I was in Guernsey in September, and I had the most incredible butter, so I put it in my suitcase and brought it home. So you can see the wine is almost evaporated out now. And at that point, when the liquid's kind of evaporated, then we're going to add some of our stock. So this is vegetable stock. So you add in like 100 mils and then stir. And again, we're agitating the rice. We're drawing out the moisture and the starch to make it creamy and carry on cooking. Add a little bit more. And we just take our time now. And it'll probably take 15 minutes cooking. Okay? And at that point, we will then taste the rice. Make sure that it's cooked and also the liquid has got the sufficient seasoning. Because all we've added is a little bit of salt and that's it. Okay? So we've added our wine, our stock, and so on and so forth. So we'll need to make sure that it's seasoned correctly. Let's add a tiny little bit more liquid to that there. But can you see how creamy the liquid has become? And because we've been stirring constantly, it's releasing the starch and it's kind of making its own sort of creamy liquid. Now, don't be afraid of serving this loose. Like for me, that's how a risotto should look. It shouldn't sit in a big ball on the plate. It should drop. That's how a risotto should be. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to finish with some butter. So add that in. And then we've got our pecorino cheese. So this is pecorino or parmesan. It's entirely up to you. It doesn't matter. Whichever you prefer, bless you, whichever you can get hold of. And this will add a sort of a depth. It'll add a richness to it and give it a little bit of saltiness. And we do this and then we'll taste it and make sure that it's right. There we go. Right, we'll just leave that there because we might just need a little bit more. So, stir this together. And because you're using a really nice fine grater, it will just melt straight in, yeah. So for me, that risotto is the right texture. Okay? It shouldn't be a big stodgy mass. It should be quite wet. So let's pop that onto there. Is that all right on there? There we go. Look at that. Let's have a little taste, and then we know where we're at, and we know if we need to make any adjustments. I get 2 spoons out. I feel like this is Emily's looking at me. I want to taste this. Look. Have a little taste of that. Tell me what you think. Nice?
Yeah.
I like that. I'm happy with that. And I'm happy with the looseness of that. That is just going to sit lovely. I'm going to spoon it on the plate and it's just going to drop, which is exactly what we want. Now, let's put this to one side and then we can finish our Italian stew and then we're ready to serve. So, let's pop it on there, out it's hot. Okay, so it's reduced down, which is lovely. All we need is just a little bit of corn flour, I think. Just to take the liquid to a gravy, which isn't very Italian. I wonder what Italian for gravy is. Add a little bit of water to your corn flour. You could add just some like gravy granules into that as well if you wanted to, you know, just to thicken it. If you haven't got any corn flour, a few gravy granules, that'll do. So, that's my corn flour. Let's just grab a spoon. And what you must do is turn your stew down. If it's bubbling and you pour that corn flour straight in, it'll thicken instantly. Okay, so what you've got to do is turn it down a little bit. Make some space for the so that you've just got the liquid like that, yeah? And then we're going to add some of this and stir straight away. Otherwise, it will thicken instantly. Do you see how it's there?
Wow.
Then we start to just bring everything together. Look at that.
Lord.
How good does that look? I think this French stew that's gone on holiday to Italy is the way forward. That looks serious. That looks good. So good. This little bit of butter there that's left can go in there. And that'll just make it really nice and silky and lovely. This is very northern Italian, this, which is where you get a risotto. They would, like in Milan, you would get the slow-cooked shin of beef with a Milanese risotto, and that's like their classic. Right, so time to serve up. Risotto. There we go. So I'm just going to pile it on top. And then what you want to do is this. If it doesn't do that and flatten out, it's not wet enough. Okay? You get shouted at by the Italians. Although I think they might shout at me for this anyway, to be perfectly honest. So just stir that butter in. And there we have got the most delicious Italian chicken stew. This has got fennel, shallots, tomatoes, mushrooms, lots of lovely red wine in there. And look at that. How delicious does that look? A fennel and pecorino risotto with an Italian coq au vin. Now, if you want the recipe, you can get the risotto in our new book, and I will put the Italian coq au vin on our website, petersidwell.com, and we will give it to you there. But thank you very much for watching. I'm going to feed Emily, and I'll see you on the next one.